All right, everybody, welcome back to another Shots from the Winchester Podcast presented by Greencastle. My name is Lindsay. I'm your host today, and we have Jacob Lepley with us. Hey, Jacob.
Hi, Lindsay.
How you
nice
doing?
to be here. Great.
Cool. So we're in the Winchester. So because we're in the Winchester, we have to do a shot.
Okay.
So what are we doing a shot of?
I think it's called Palma. It is a pomegranate vodka and with tequila mixed in, so it should be interesting. I've never had it before.
Well, all right. So then let's cheers to Greencastle.
To Greencastle.
All right, cool.
That's actually really good.
That tastes like juice, honestly.
Yeah.
Jacob, you're here today because you are currently in the Skillbridge program at Greencastle, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But first I wanted to talk about your military experience because everybody that works here is a veteran, so they have this military experience, so I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, so it's kind of a long one, but I'll try and keep it short. I enlisted in the Army in 2002, came in as a Russian linguist. So I went straight from basic training to the Defense Language Institute to learn Russian. And my training pipeline was a little bit longer. It took me about a year and a half before I got to my first duty station. So did that for a little while. And this was, 2003, 2004, where, Iraq, Afghanistan, global war on terrorism. So Russian linguist, there wasn't a lot of promotion opportunity. So I switched over where there was more promotion opportunities. So I became a human intelligence collector. Did that for a while, 5 combat deployments, lots of time in special operations. So did that for a while, became a warrant officer. So assessed to be a warrant officer at 5 years. I've met one person in my time that assessed to be a warrant officer that wasn't a pilot, earlier than me, but 5 years is pretty fast. So I became a warrant officer, and then did that for a while, served with lots of great units, lots of great people. And then in 2014, I had an opportunity to apply for and join the Defense Attaché service. So I did, got accepted, went and learned French before my first assignment and went to the Joint Military Attaché School. And then served in the Defense Attaché service for essentially the rest of my career, served at a couple of different embassies, and then I came back and wound up being an instructor at the Joint Military Attaché School, and then I closed out my career. I was the Chief of the Army Attaché Management Division, kind of overseeing the Army's Attaché program.
Wow, okay, so no big deal.
So that's the short version.
So I guess my first question is probably, why did you go in as a Russian linguist? Like, what was the interest there that made you think, like, this is what I want to do?
So when I joined, I actually just joined as a linguist, and then the Army chose Russian for me. The reason for it, I knew I wanted to do something in the intelligence field, and the choices that day when I went to enlist were either a Morse code operator or a linguist, and I weighed the two. It was a tough decision, but I wound up going with a linguist, and then the Army chose Russian for me. You have to take a qualification test, and they assess your ability to learn languages, and you're kind of assigned a language based on your aptitude for languages, and I was kind of middle of the pack, so I got Russian.
Well, I know that being a linguist, you have to get a certain score even upon entering. Like, you have to have a pretty high test score. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that's really impressive. So then you mentioned a human intelligence collection. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So with human intelligence, it's another discipline in the intelligence community, and essentially it's a wide variety of ways that you can interact with getting intelligence information, information from a human. Lots of ways we do that. Kind of source operations or debriefings. Interrogations, so lots of different ways to do that. Lots of methodologies that are out there, and I think I've done about all of them. So
wow,
yeah,
that's really impressive. And then your school that you were the chief of. Tell us more about that. I don't actually know anything about that school.
The Joint Military Attaché School.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Defense Attaché Service. I'll just give a little bit of background because it's a lot of people might not know about it. But the Defense Attaché Service, broadly, what we do is we represent the Department of Defense and specifically the Secretary of Defense diplomatically overseas. We serve in U.S. embassies, and we promote, friendly relations between our countries, military cooperation, and we advise the ambassador, which we also call the chief of mission, on all military matters, and we oversee, we implement all those strategic level DoD initiatives. Whatever the Department of Defense is doing in a country, we're there implementing that and coordinating that with the embassy, with the State Department, with all the agencies. So that's kind of broadly what the Defense Attaché Service does. And obviously there's a big learning curve to get people, military officers, and we take in the Defense Attaché Service, one of the strengths, similar to, I guess, society is our diversity, right? And so we have people from all over. We have attachés that are F-16 pilots or armor officers or cooks. Some of my students, actually some of my best students, were in the band, both the Army band and the Air Force band, and they joined the Defense Attaché Service, and they were amazing. So we taught them, to be diplomats and to do all the missions that the Defense Attaché Service has.
That's pretty impressive. So I have in my notes then, you were an accredited diplomat. So I'm assuming through that is where you were an accredited diplomat.
Correct. Yep.
So then tell us about, maybe one story that you have that was like kind of cool or unique through that experience.
Oh, wow. So just so many. So a couple things. One is the opportunity to live and serve overseas. So I was stationed, my embassies I served at were in N'Djamena, Chad, and then Kyiv, Ukraine. And just the opportunity to live overseas, immerse yourself in the culture. I got to live in Africa, and it was amazing, and really know the people and get to know the continent. So that's amazing. And obviously in Ukraine was, an amazing time. Obviously I was extremely busy all the time. But one story that really had an impact on me later. At the time, I was just doing my job. We're just doing the job. We're just doing the work. It's what it was, and we're just pushing through it. It really wasn't anything that I really thought of at the time. But then later it became big, and that was I was there. I was in Kyiv when we made the decision. The whole of government, made the decision to provide lethal aid to the Ukrainians. So that meant we were providing javelins. So I was on the VTCs when we were talking about that, talking with the National Security Council. So we're, working with everybody involved, lots of people involved in that decision. And then there was a lot of things that went into it. We had to go and, look at where the Ukrainians were going to store these things, and lots of stuff had to happen to make that happen. Then logistically, getting them in and all that stuff. So I was, a small part of that team that brought those javelins into Ukraine. And at the time, it was we're just doing the work. That's what it was. But then, when Russia invaded, and those javelins played a huge part in Ukraine's ability to resist that initial onslaught, it was very rewarding. In hindsight, I could say, hey, I was a part of that. So again, at the time, didn't think anything of it, but
right.
Later on, we know that the work that we did there made a big difference, and so that was, that's rewarding, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that has to be really rewarding. So you have all these worldly experiences, all this culture, and then you land in Malvern, Pennsylvania. So you're in the Skillbridge program here. Can
Yes.
you talk a little bit about what that offers and how you found that program in Greencastle?
Yeah, so the Skillbridge program in the Department of Defense is just an amazing program where they allow you to find an internship or fellowship. There's different programs out there that you can build skills to help you transition from the military to the civilian sector. And it's an amazing program. You get to do it while you're on active duty, so you're still getting active duty pay and active duty benefits. It's just absolutely amazing. And how I found Greencastle was through a lot of research. I'm very diligent, and I looked for every single Skillbridge program that I could find, and I found about 120 that had something to do with project management or program management or operations management. That's what I wanted to be. I got my master's degree in project management, so I knew I wanted to do something in that field. I also really like process improvement, so I was focused on those. Found about 120, and I just started doing research. Researched, all the different companies and the programs and stuff that they had. And what I loved about Greencastle was, one, they really invested in you. The Stronghold Leadership Skillbridge program. You get a lot world-class training. You get certifications, PMP, Lean Six Sigma, Scrum Master. So it's just amazing. The company really invests in you, and then you also get real world client experience. So I'm right now working with a client and getting that hands-on real world experience. So it's been amazing, and I love the Stronghold Fellowship and love Greencastle. So it's great.
That's good. And you've been here how many months now?
About 2.5. Got here beginning of January. So.
And then at the start of next month, you'll be accepting a full-time role. Is that correct?
Yeah. So after my Skillbridge ends, I got to go back to my unit for just a short period, and then once my time in the military ends, I've accepted a full-time position. Yeah.
Yeah. So I strongly encourage that if you're out there and you're a veteran, you look into the Skillbridge program. It is so valuable. It really helps veterans transition into the civilian world. It teaches those valuable skills, and you'll just have to find the one that's right for you. And Greencastle is one of those many places that has a Skillbridge program. So with that, what advice would you give to a veteran transitioning into civilian world outside of the Skillbridge program?
So it's a great question. I think there's a lot of things. I think the one thing I would probably say is, we talk a lot about finding your purpose and your next mission, and that's critically important. And I think there's some systematic ways that you can do that, and you don't want to skip that. You don't want to just look for a job. You want to find fulfillment, because that being in the military, that military has taken up a big chunk of your life, and a lot of times we have a lot of our identity wrapped up into our military service, and so you want to find all of that. And so there's great veteran service organizations out there that can help you. I worked with one called the Commit Foundation. They're incredible. They have a program called Pursue Your Purpose, where you find that helps find you. And then the other thing is, when you're looking for fulfillment, you don't just get fulfillment from your job, right? You get fulfillment from a lot of areas in your life. It can be hobbies, things that you can do. It can be giving back to a community. It can be through spirituality. There's a lot of ways that you get fulfillment in your life, and I think a lot of times veterans want to look at getting fulfillment from a job, but it's not just the job. It's all aspects of your life. Finding the next hobby, or doing something you haven't done. Running a marathon, or one of our goals is we want to visit all the national parks. So having goals and looking for ways to find fulfillment and purpose, I think is the most important part of transitioning.
That's a lot of great advice. And honestly, you have a couple things that we'll talk about that I feel like kind of address those other areas,
Yeah.
right? So if it wasn't enough that you have all of these really fascinating achievements throughout your life and your military career and, working here, you are also a small business owner, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about, you have multiple, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So
let's
I
get
do.
into that.
Yeah. So they're all kind of new, but what I'm doing is in my transition, I kind of wanted to pursue multiple options, and through the Commit Foundation, I got linked up with an executive coach, and through our coaching sessions, we talked about based on my values and what I was doing, that entrepreneurship was probably something that I should explore. So in addition to working with Greencastle, I want to explore entrepreneurship. So I know we'll probably get to what we're doing being a digital nomad, but I became a certified RV inspector. So similar to a home inspection, anybody that buys an RV should get them inspected. So I became a certified RV inspector. I'm also a registered RV technician, so I can work on RVs. So I went down to the National RV Training Academy and got those certifications, and we've started our business. We've formed the LLC. We're getting the banking set up right now, so banking and then insurance, and then we'll have a company. But we got a company formed, and so we're doing that. And then that's one of the businesses. I also am in the real estate, so I have about 5 different businesses in real estate. 4 of them are kind of real estate holding companies where I own my investment properties in those companies, and then I have another one that we're gonna buy and sell mortgages, notes to investors. So kind of working a few different things.
How you have time for all that, I'm not sure. Maybe that's why you have the master's in project management, right? So you can build your own timelines to make sure you get everything done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. You have a lot going on.
Well, and my wife helps with the businesses as well. She does a lot with the businesses. So it's team effort, 100%, not just me.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your wife at all? How long have you been married?
Yeah, so so we've been married. I didn't know there was going to be relationship trivia. We got married on September 16th, 2006, so it was 17-ish years coming up on. Never did have kids, but she's great. She teaches English as a second language online.
Wow.
So she's remote and yeah, it's great. She's great. She obviously is my rock and my support, and just an amazing person. Probably the nicest and sweetest person you've ever met.
And she's a military spouse, which is such a huge job. Like, that is not easy. There's a lot of times that we, talk about and highlight the veteran, but the military spouses have a really tough job too. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I wanted to touch on something else. So you are what you like to call a digital nomad.
Yes.
Okay, tell us what that means.
So I'll back up just a little bit. And when I was making my decision to transition, I'd kind of got to pretty much the top of my career field. I was looking around at what I was going to do next, and didn't see something that really caught my eyes. The next challenge, the next thing, and so I started asking myself, is this still the way I want to live my life, right? And I loved all my time in the Army. Had an amazing career, served with some incredible people, but right now I was like, is this still how I want to live my life? And the answer was no. We wanted to have a little more freedom than sometimes the military allows, and we wanted to have live a little more of an adventurous life. So we wanted to be able to travel and do things. So what we're doing is we bought an RV. We've sold our house. One of the, our primary house. We still have our rental properties, but we sold our house. We bought an RV, and we have been living full time in our RV for over 6 months now, and traveling the United States. And our goals, we're trying to see all the national parks and just experience so many things, and not, instead of investing in stuff and things, we want to invest in experiences and just live as much life as we can. So that's what we're trying to do. And
that's great advice. And the nice thing is that, where you work, Greencastle, like they're flexible, and we can work remote, we can go wherever, and, still get the work done. And also that's just the kind of, I guess, what happened after COVID, right? Everybody went remote, and so that's kind of life now, right?
Yeah,
so.
No, it's absolutely perfect, and Greencastle's the perfect, kind of the perfect fit for me. I get to do the work that I want to do. I can do it where I want to do it. I can be remote, and I can do it with great people, which is super important to me.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm really glad you're here. Very cool. So I want to leave the audience with one last thing. We usually have a leadership tip. So you obviously, being a warrant officer, being in the military, being here, you have experience being a leader. So if you'd like to impart some leadership knowledge on the audience, that would be great.
Sure. So obviously, being in for over 20 years, I think I could probably talk about it for a long time. I think the one thing I'd say is, leadership is always personal. You're dealing with people, and that it's got to be personal, and it's about relationships. So really helps if, however you can, you build both a personal relationship and a professional relationship with all your people, and that relationship really helps. And because leadership is about people and relationships, the number one factor I've found in that is communication, and not only how what you communicate, how you communicate it, and when you communicate it. Right, those are all super important. Sometimes you can get what you communicate is right, but how you communicate it is wrong, or maybe how you did it is right, but you just did it late, right? We didn't communicate at the right time, and you can have some real pitfalls there. So I think, big part of leadership is communication, and doing it, communicating the right thing, the right way, the right time is really important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. So thank you so much for being here, Jacob.
Oh,
really
thank you.
Appreciate it. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Please comment, share. We appreciate all the interactions. And we come out with new episodes every Tuesday. So, follow, and you'll get more awesome content like this. So, Jacob, thanks again.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you on the next one.